This is Murder in the Morning with Tony Bruschi and Stacey Cole.
All right, this is kind of a case straight out of a true crime documentary, or I would almost say mockumentary, except this is real and it's tragic. 3 diehard Kansas City Chiefs fans go to their buddy's house for a watch party. Completely normal, right? You go watch the game, have a couple beers, hopefully go home sober. 2 days later, they're found frozen in his backyard. For over a year, everyone, family, friends, even police, left scratching their heads. And now, the guy who hosted the party, Jordan Willis, has been arrested alongside another man in connection with their deaths. Here's how it all went down. Ricky Johnson, who's 38, David Harrington, 37, Clayton McGeeney, 36, were last seen alive on January 7th of 24, watching the Chiefs' final regular season game at Willis's place. Fast forward to January 9th, McGeeney's fiance, worried after 2 days of silence, breaks into Willis's basement to find one of the guys dead on the back porch. Cops show up and find the other 2 in the backyard. At first, Willis, who by the way is a scientist, said he had no clue his friends were still outside when he went to bed. He even claimed he was wearing headphones and totally missed the frantic message from the victims' families.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
Was he out of it for that whole time too, I'm wondering? Or was he, I don't know. I can't, there's only so many hours I don't check my phone. You think you'd find it or have some sort of idea. Again, unless he was completely out of it. Police didn't think there was any foul play at first. There's 3 people dead in your backyard. Maybe there's a question of something not natural occurring here. So the case just sat there. It's gathering dust. Then the plot thickened. Authorities eventually found a connection to a guy named Ivory J. Carson, also known as Blade Brown, because, of course, he has a nickname like that. Turns out Carson allegedly sold cocaine to Willis and the victims. And when investigators searched Willis's home, they found a bag of fentanyl with Carson's DNA on it.
Uh-oh.
See, they didn't quite get cocaine, now, did they? The story starts making more sense now. Prosecutors say there was a plate of cocaine at Harrington's house earlier that night, supplied by Willis. Witnesses say the group partied at Willis's place, drinking, smoking weed, and using what they thought was cocaine. Last time anyone saw all 3 victims alive, 1:30 a.m., after Willis had already gone to bed. By morning, they were all dead. An autopsy later confirmed what many feared: fentanyl and cocaine toxicity. You know, like you do at a football party.
Wow, dude.
I don't know what kind of football party y'all are going to, but that's not nachos.
I was going to say, when I walk in, I'm looking for chips, dip, and a cheese tray. That's really, that makes a magical party for me.
Yeah.
And the little sausages too.
Those
and
are
the
good.
barbecue sauce.
Yes, those are very good.
I'm not looking for a plate of cocaine on a Dixie plate, you know?
Mix the fentanyl with the little sausages, with a little these are fentanyl smokies.
Wow.
We use Baby Ray's in it as well. You know,
Oh, man.
fun with fentanyl. It's like, fuck around and find out, kids.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about fentanyl, you know it doesn't take much to turn a party into a funeral. Understandably, the victims' families weren't satisfied with the idea that this was just a tragic accident. Harrington's mom, Teresa, made it clear her son didn't take drugs expecting to die. Somebody gave him something that would kill him, she said. Maybe your son should have been taking illicit drugs.
You know, it doesn't, I don't know about you, but when I was in my younger days and we would show up at parties and there'd be some stuff going on, we never thought that any of it could kill you unless you did way too much of it. You know, you could do some, but we never thought about, well, that stuff can kill you.
I did.
You don't know what's in it.
But I never did it. Like, I never did anything back then. And I knew weed can't kill you, but I knew the other stuff has the possibility to kill you.
Yeah. But to me, I guess it was only, you know, if you did too much, you could die,
Yeah.
but it wasn't take a hit of something.
Yeah, there wasn't
it's
that.
going to kill you.
There wasn't that because there wasn't fentanyl.
Right.
I mean, just like the tip of this pen, just a little droplet of fentanyl on there. If there's that much, that can kill you. It can kill an elephant, actually.
And here's what I'm not understanding, and maybe I don't understand drug culture. I'm going to show how naive I am to all of it at this point. I don't understand what the draw is to be lacing things with fentanyl because you're going to lose your clientele.
Yeah.
And I understand that, maybe the dealer doesn't know it's in there, but aren't you killing your customers?
Yes.
Why does that seem like a reasonable business model to you? Because it doesn't to me. I'm not a business person, but
does it seem
I
like
would
a
think you'd
reasonable
want your
business?
customers alive.
Does it seem like a reasonable business to begin with? I mean,
Well, no, but I'll be honest with you. I have a family member who made a shit ton of money off of the illegal drug trade. The goal was to have your customers come back.
Yeah.
I thought.
You would think. I don't know.
Unless there's something I don't know.
I do not know how this all works. That usually would be the goal, to have return business of anything
really
you're doing.
odd to me.
I don't know. I don't know why they're mixing this in there. If it's to make it stronger or to cut. I don't know if you're really cutting it, because just a little bit can do a lot.
Right.
I don't know. I don't get it. Meanwhile,
I
Willis.
don't think it's safe to be doing.
No, it's not.
Doing any drugs.
You're not going to go to. There's not a place you can go get like safe cocaine. It just doesn't exist. There's not. I guess unless you're manufacturing it yourself.
I'm going to ask ChatGPT.
You'll be on a list by the end of this story.
I am already on a list, honey.
Meanwhile, Willis quietly packed up, moved out of his house, and checked himself into rehab right as the investigation heated up. Police also uncovered text messages that tied Carson to the drug supply that night. When questioned in July of 24, Carson admitted to selling cocaine to the victims. Platte County prosecutor Eric Zand made his stance crystal clear. This case is a tragic reminder of the dangers of street drugs, but make no mistake, the people who supply those drugs can and will be held accountable when people overdose. And now, Carson is sitting in jail on a $100,000 cash bond. Willis is expected to surrender and post the same amount. If convicted, both men are looking at up to 10 years in prison. So what started as a casual game night, watching the game with friends, ended up in a backyard tragedy. And after more than a year of waiting, the families might finally get some answers. I think you kind of knew it all along, quite honestly. I don't know what you're going to get here. It's just a lesson in bad decision-making all around. These people chose to take what they thought was cocaine. If they're too stupid to realize the dangers of that and how that shit is being laced with fentanyl, then sorry. I mean, it's horrible that they died, but I'm sorry, you made a bad choice. And sometimes that kills you. When you start fucking around with things that can kill you, and then you're surprised that it kills you, or your family's surprised that it killed you, I feel bad for your family. But
a lot of leopards eating faces right now. I did ask ChatGPT.
About what did you ask it specifically?
Specifically, I said, why are drug dealers cutting drugs with fentanyl?
Okay.
Do they want their customers to die?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It says no. Drug dealers don't want their customers to die. It's bad for business. But they cut drugs with fentanyl for several reasons, even though it's incredibly dangerous. And there's 4 reasons. The first one is cost and profit. Fentanyl is cheap to produce and extremely potent, so a tiny amount can replace or stretch more expensive drugs like heroin, cocaine, or fake prescription pills like Xanax and Percocet. This allows a dealer to maximize their profits. It's addictive, far more addictive than heroin or other opioids. Once somebody is hooked on fentanyl-laced drugs, they'll keep coming back even if they know the risks. Seen that? Supply chain contamination. Some street drugs contain fentanyl not because a dealer intentionally added it, but to cross-contamination in mixing, or due to cross-contamination in mixing or packaging processes. And then competitive edge. A stronger product means customers may prefer one dealer's supply over another, even though it's more dangerous. And it said, but why kill customers? Well, they don't want to, but fentanyl is so potent that even slight miscalculations can be lethal. It takes only a few milligrams to cause an overdose, and street dealers aren't exactly chemists with precise measuring equipment.
So it's idiots doing idiot things.
Yeah. Yeah, if they were actually measuring safe amounts of fentanyl to put in there, we wouldn't have this horrible problem. I mean, yes, we'd have drugs out there, and that's a whole different discussion, but you
Sure.
wouldn't have people dropping dead from, a little bit of cocaine.
It's horrible, and I get addiction. I get that where once you're on it, and maybe you never even intended to get on it, you're on it. I mean, people get that with opiates, from their doctor's office after surgery. People get hooked on that shit. I mean, I saw a friend of mine. Her daughter had a riding accident. I think it was from a horse, and then had to have some surgery on her knee, I believe it was. And this was probably 15, 20 years ago, and got hooked on whatever it was at the time that the doctors were giving as the opiate. What would that probably have been? It's not fentanyl. It's the other one that's pretty common.
Morphine?
No,
Oxycodone? Percocet?
might have been. I think it was Oxy. I think it was Oxy that it was, and got hooked on it. Eventually, the doctors are not giving it because you need to wean yourself off, which is oftentimes even more painful than the pain that it's trying to take away. And so she went to street drugs and then got super hooked on that, got into horrible situations with horrible people, and did so much damage. She survived all of this, basically became homeless at some point. Her family eventually gets her back. She's living back at home with mom and dad, but she is permanently brain damaged. She has no memory of much. She functions as a normal adult, but it's like talking to an Alzheimer's patient. And she's a beautiful 30-some-year-old woman. Looking at her on the surface, you'd have no idea. And this is going to be her for the rest of her life because
How
of
tragic.
because of that. And it's not like she went out. She was never a drug person. That wasn't her. Like, I knew her, around that time because we're somewhat similar in age. And she wasn't that person, but she ended up getting hooked on it. This is how it often happens, through your doctor. And then they cut it off, which they need to, but they don't have much of a system for that. And then, they went to the street. And once you're addicted, you'll do anything for that. And it just destroyed her, and it was horrible. So it's sad. This is a tragic incident in a case like this.
It really is. And it has a lot to do with the person and how they react to addiction. And I don't think it's a choice in any way, shape, or form. I played roller derby 14 years ago, and I was tossed to the ground and blew out my L4, L5 disc. And when I finally went to the doctor, because I couldn't walk, I was put on extended release morphine. And when I tried to get off of it, it was excruciating.
Yeah.
And thankfully, my doctor helped me get off of it. But not every doctor does that. They just go, no, I'm not prescribing it anymore. And so even titrating off of it to lower levels of it and then being done and having to deal with, oh my God, I'm getting brain zaps and all that.
Yeah.
Even with that, it was hard to stomach. So if your doctor just goes, nope, I'm done prescribing this for you, and you can't cope with it, people will turn to the streets. And it's unfortunate, and it shouldn't be that way. Your doctor is supposed to help you through this, and they were helping you through the pain, but then they didn't help you through the pain of getting off of the medication.
And so that's the thing, nobody tells you about with that. I mean, you do now. I mean, it's not that hard to get yourself educated on this stuff, but 15 years ago, you didn't really know very much. And there's why would you, after my Tylenol wears off, if I have pain, it's still from the injury or whatever it is. It's not because the Tylenol went away. With this shit, you have pain because that went away, not the pain. I when I had my when my appendix burst and I had that out, I was on something. I think it might have been Oxy and it was just a small dose. I was on it for a few days, probably 3-4 max. And I wish I would have switched over to Tylenol sooner. Because, and just been in pain for a couple days, because getting off of that shit, holy shit. I mean, it made me have a whole new understanding for this sort of stuff and addicts. I mean, that was just a handful of days after a surgery, and it was painful for like weeks after. And it wasn't the pain of the surgery. It was like, it was in different places, and it was from that shit.
And it was your brain saying, wait a minute, I need
Yeah.
this. Give,
Yeah.
bring that back to me. So your entire body is reacting to this addiction, not just the appendix and everything that happened there. Your entire body is in an addictive state and needing something you're not giving it.
And I can't imagine, if someone's on it for years or weeks even, or months. I mean, it was that I can't fathom. Like, I get it. Like, if I was like on something for like a real serious injury or something, and that's like all that could handle the pain for a period of time, and I get it. I get how people would end up getting the shit on the streets to make, because it would be worth it to make that pain go away, because it's almost insufferable to continue living through it and hoping you're going to get to the end of this ride. Yeah, I can't imagine. But in this case, I wonder if, all these guys really were addicts, or if they're out.
I think they fucked around and found out.
I think they fucked around and found
a bunch of guys screwing around at a football party. Hey, I got some Coke. You want some? Yeah, no problem. Whatever.
Yeah.
Just being guys and not going, hey, this could kill us.
And that's the thing with a situation like this. I get addiction, and that's tragic. This is not that. That's my conjecture on it. Unless there were known addicts, but I'm guessing they weren't. This is just being really stupid. And at 37 years old, going to watch the Kansas City game and doing blow.
Yeah.
Grow the fuck up. I mean, look, it is what it is. This is actually natural selection working.
Well, it's unfortunate.
It's horrible. But this is poor decision making by people, and it leads to death. That is how that works.
Yeah.
We just happen to have a lot more safeguards in place for it these days. But yeah, I mean, that is really what it is. It's sad to say. And I feel horrible for those families, but that's why you don't fuck around with that shit.
Want to stay on top of the latest true crime cases? Press subscribe now and never miss a breaking update from the Hidden Killers podcast and True Crime Today.